wake to roaring pain in my hand. Something like heavy smoke clogs my head, making remembering last night a challenge. Did I get hurt on the job? It wouldn't be the first time I busted up my hand, either through insufficient sleep or incompetent college students chucked onto the site at the last minute. But that doesn't explain the pain in my head. I'm far past the days when I would take a bottle of Jack or Jim to null the pain. Not with Jack's bills. I can't afford to miss a single day of work. I can't give the foreman the slightest provocation to send me home from a job. When you're still working construction at my age, it's all a matter of sucking up the pain and kissing. My seat and the wall vibrate like a bucket of bricks have fallen beside me. I spring up on reflex and push myself away. A woman's scream cuts through the heavy fog in my brain, forcing my eyes open. Adrenaline cuts through the blur, allowing me to make out my surroundings. There are two men near me. One of them looks like the nervous college type, with thick glasses and arms that look like they've never lifted a weight in his life. The man holding him by the shoulders is the opposite in every meaning of the word. He has long flowing hair. He must be a decade or so older than me, with muscles bulging out his arms. There's a woman in the room as well. She's huddled in the corner, hair pulled up in a tight bun, with yoga pants practically screaming soccer mom. "Where the hell are we, you little pissant?" The college boy tries to answer his attacker, but his face is turning purple, and all that comes out is a stuttering gag. He's going to kill him if he keeps this up. I don't say a word as I creep up behind the big man and aim for the only spots open. I jam my fist up into his armpits while positioning my leg behind his knee. As he bellows in pain, I hook my arm around his neck and shove him back into my awaiting knee. He goes down like a tree made of flesh and bone, slamming his head on the cold floor with a loud crack. He's dazed, but not out. It'll take more than that to knock out a guy his size. Quite a bit of my 20s was spent in bars, and guys my size often become the target of drunks looking to prove how tough they are. I position myself in front of the kid as the giant rears back on his shoulders and slowly gets to his feet, shaking his head. As he takes his time, I take a look around the room. It doesn't look so different from the beginning stages of a contracting gig. Bare concrete floors with wooden benches screwed into the walls in a hurry. Black and white tiled walls. And one lone door, standard issue wood, but thick and heavy. I must have installed a million like them in my life. The kid coughs and sputters, then rushes for the door, trying the knob, but getting no luck. Locked. That, or the kid doesn't know his ass from a doorknob. God knows I've worked with enough of them on construction sites to know I can't dismiss that possibility. My attention is drawn back to the man as he stands at full height, a couple of inches shorter than me. The guy's built like he spent time behind bars. You don't get muscles like that by casually hitting the gym, and the faded ink on his arms only cements the impression made in my mind. Being bigger doesn't make you the best fighter, though. I can feel the goon's eyes on me, assessing me the same way I'm doing him. I don't much care for the idea of throwing down in such tight quarters, but the guy still hasn't attacked me yet, showing the same hesitation as me. It's one thing to throw down with a guy half your size, and another to actually smack around a guy who knows what he's doing. I decide it's better to strike on his indecision. Maybe that'll be enough to stop us from kicking the shit out of each other. "So," I motioned to the kid huddled behind me. "What's the deal? You take your milk money or something?" The guy takes another moment, glaring at me, before snorting in mild amusement and wiping blood from his nose. "Figured he was the one in charge. I agreed to the experiment for money, but that doesn't mean I signed up for getting knocked out and carted off here against my will." I take stock of what the guy says and measure it for myself. There's a certain logic to his words. I only spent a couple of semesters in college before flunking out my freshman year, but that was long enough to do a couple of psychology experiments in exchange for beer money. Being locked up in a room with people from 4 obviously different walks of life certainly reminds me of that. But something he said doesn't make sense. Knocking us out and carting us off? That's not how college labs operate. Sure, they keep things secret. They don't want to reveal what they're studying until the end. But no university would sign off on an experiment that involves sedating people. The lawsuits would bankrupt most universities. I take a mental step backward, trying to remember the night before, but I can't recall anything past my phone. Wait. I look around at each of them. Did some weird app appear on your phone too? The big man keeps glaring at me, but eventually nods. With something to add to the conversation, the woman pushes herself up from the wall and takes a trembling step toward us. It just appeared the other day. I can't remember what it's called. Something real short. Indy, the young man finally says, his throat raspy as he rubs his neck. Little I, little N, and big D. Going into construction seemed like a sure thing in my 20s. I was freshly flunked out of college and didn't have anything on my resume except for 4 years spent on the high school football team. I was good enough to help take our team to the state championship, but not skilled enough to go pro or even get an athletic scholarship. But all my friends were going to college. It seemed like the thing to do. So I applied for student loans and got accepted into one of the local universities. Some people will tell you that college isn't anything like what you see in the movies, and they're lying to you. Animal House was a preview of my academic life. People should work that warning differently. All the opportunities the movies presented to horny 18-year-olds are there. Keggers, dope, girls, parties, all of those are within arm's reach. But you can't live life like in the movies. Not if you want to keep the party going. My 0.25 GPA was proof enough of that. I rode out my academic suspension into expulsion. Then, I entered the job market with no experience, no degree, and tens of thousands in student loan debt added on top for good measure. Construction seemed like an answer to my prayers. It was a way for me to make good, and honest money at that. I wasn't one of those eggheads who made their fortune by tricking guys like me into investing in crypto or whatever. With nothing but the sweat and blood spilled from hard labor, I managed to buy my own truck and then my own house. I even met a nice girl, settled down, and had a kid. When you become a father, your priorities change. Every decision you make is weighed by how it'll affect your kid. I stopped staying out all night drinking and focused on nothing but work and providing for my family. As I got older and my back and knees started to ache, all it took was a glimpse of Jack on my phone to get me through the day. Things would have been fine if people in this country would stop and think. Sure, automobile manufacturing is increasingly automated, but that's not an option with construction. Not yet, anyway. You can't have R2-D2 setting the foundation or expect C-3PO to know how to run a circular saw. They still need guys like me for most construction sites, but try telling that to people handing out the jobs. The permanent positions in construction aren't disappearing. Independent contracting has always been a steady backbone of the workforce, but it became the norm for gigs like mine. And since we weren't employees, things like health insurance and retirement packages ceased to exist. Guys like me, on the wrong side of 40, started getting the side eye. Sure, I might have more experience, but how long can a body like mine keep up in a young man's game? I tried to ignore these signs at first. I just kept my head down and bore through the hardships. But I guess that's also the first step to burying your head in the sand. Fewer and fewer jobs came my way. Eventually, I had to face the truth. I was an old man in a young man's career, with nothing saved for retirement and no other way to support my family. I started bringing this home with me. I started leaning on the bottle more, and the fights with the wife became more frequent, leading to a separation that's still hovering near a divorce. Things got worse after Jack's accident. 6 months of surgeries, and we still don't know if my son will ever walk again. The company protected the bastard driving the truck, so we scraped every dime we had together to hire a lawyer. I never sued anyone in my life, but how else are you supposed to make crooks do the right thing? We're currently tangled up in pre-trial shenanigans. Our lawyers think it will be years before we even see a court date, let alone a settlement. Of course, that excuse doesn't fly with the bill collectors. They've been pounding on my door and blowing up my phone since Jack moved out of the ICU. To make ends meet, I started to do more jobs through the apps on my phone. It's mostly minor carpentry projects, like building decks and some light handyman work around a house, skills that I've picked up over the years. But the public are tougher taskmasters than the foreman. They expect perfection and for a fraction of the pay. Construction wasn't easy, but at least I never had to worry about star ratings or Yelp reviews. I was swiping down calls from the bill collectors when the new app appeared on my phone. Indy, little N, big D, just like the kid said. I couldn't remember downloading it. It just showed up one day. The app was stuck on the login page, and I tried to swipe out, but it wouldn't let me. I was about to reboot my phone when the app sent a message. "Sign up now and receive $1,000. I scoffed. Another scam. Nobody ever gives you something for nothing. But my hand hesitated on the power button until I figured what was the harm. I could bail on the thing if it started asking for my social security number. I got a new alert on my phone as soon as I clicked OK. The app was no longer keeping me trapped on its login page, so I swiped up to see the notification from my bank. $1,000 had just been deposited into my account. My mouth went dry as my guard rose. I hadn't put in any of my information. How did the app know my bank or account details? Yet, the money was right there in front of me. Enough cash to buy Jack's medicine this week without putting it on cards. And all I had to do was click OK on an app. A new notification popped up on my phone. "Thank you for registering with Indy. We have an exciting opportunity for you in your area. Would you like to participate?" I clicked on the notification and scrolled through their terms and services. Most of the jargon went over my head, so I zipped past it, looking for what was most important. My eyes nearly bulged out of my head when I saw what the job was offering to pay. I didn't care what it was. They could sign me up for anything for that kind of dough. I accepted the job and received a hold message. The last thing I remember was the heat building up in my phone before a sudden jolt ripped through my hand. My body convulsed beyond my control. The stench of burned flesh filled my nose as the world around me darkened. A loud vibration from my pocket draws everyone's eyes toward me. 3 more vibrations follow the sound. Flexing my fingers and working past the pain, I reach for my phone and notice the burn on my hand. It covers the entirety of my palm in a rectangular block, stopping just short of my fingers. My phone goes over the burn in a perfect fit. "Huh," the woman says, then shows us her screen. "That's weird." We form a makeshift huddle and stick our smartphones into the center. Like us, our phones are a mixture of different walks of life. The woman and the college kids have brand new models, while mine is several models past bat status. The big guy's is worse than mine. The screen is scratched up so badly, I don't know how he can read it. Each phone displays the same image. The Indy app is open to a countdown. There's a minute left, the seconds ticking away towards 0. The exact words are mirrored atop each screen. Imprint testing zone, trial 1. Below that message is a barcode and a serial number. Glancing from each screen, I see that the serial numbers are close, but different on each phone. "What the hell?" The big man, ID 0010, scratches his beard and eyes the countdown. "See? What did I tell you? Some kind of experiment gone digital and..." Before he can finish, the countdown reaches 0. Our phones vibrate once more before the screens go dark. The college kid, ID 0012, pushes his glasses up on his nose. What do you suppose that? 10 rears his head back and screams. The sudden change in demeanor catches us all off guard. 12 jumps back, climbing on top of one of the benches. The woman, ID 0011, drops her phone with a loud clatter. I stare in shock, the first to notice what's happened to 10. The floor is eating him. The thought is so bizarre that my mind is at war with itself. That can't be right. Floors are for walking. They're nothing but wood and concrete. I've lain down hundreds in my career. Something else must be happening. But my thoughts can't do anything to explain the sight unfolding before my eyes. 2 blocks from the floor have risen from the surface and clamped around 10's ankles, replacing his shoes with concrete cinder blocks. Part of me wants to dismiss it as some sick, hidden camera show, but 10's ankles bend with a loud crack, filling the room with his screams once more as blood gushes from his broken legs. I reach out my hand to him, unsure of what I'm doing, just knowing that the poor bastard needs some help. He reaches his fingers out to mine, but then the concrete parts at the top. 10's body sloshes in midair, teetering, before the concrete surges upward and slams down with a loud stony clang, catching 10's legs at the knees. 10 drops his hands, his screams still echo around the room, even when he stops. 11 covers her mouth, failing to keep the contents of her stomach down, while 12 keeps turning at the doorknob. He pounds at the wood, screaming for help. 10 has shouted himself hoarse, but he still struggles against the concrete trapping. Now, devouring him. The massive fists that I was worried about earlier slam against the concrete coating 10's legs, breaking his knuckles and adding more blood to the amount pooling onto the floor. He reaches his hands out for me, but I step back. God help me. I don't want to go anywhere near that thing. 10 sees my fear, his face contorting into an equal mix of powerless fury and sorrow. I know I'll see his expression for the rest of my life. 10 opens his mouth to either curse me or berate me. But the stone rises and strikes again, leaving behind bare dirt where there was once concrete, before clamping down on 10's waist. Blood spews from his mouth and runs down his chin, but he says nothing as his chin drapes onto his chest. He stands like that for a second before the top half of his body slides and flops loudly onto the floor, spilling 10's organs onto the stone legs that have risen from the ground. 12 murmurs something over and over that I don't recognize. It could be another language, or maybe the fear has robbed him of his senses. His arms are spread around the door like he's embracing it. His skin is pale and slick with sweat. 11 trembles but remains standing. I step back from the pool of blood spilling from 10's body, coming closer to my feet. My phone vibrates in my pocket, making me jump. 12 grips his chest like he's having a heart attack. My hands shake so bad that it takes 3 tries before I pull it from my pocket. The screen is alive again, with a new notification from the Indie app. Imprint Metamorphosis Phase 1 complete. Initiating Phase 2 in 10, 9, 8, 7. The same countdown again. 12 and I exchange frightened glances.
What?
11 shouts.
What does it say?
She dives for her phone, and at the same time, the counter reaches 0. The stone legs spring to life, but 11 is so preoccupied with her phone that she can't even dodge the slow concrete knee. It collides into her jaw with a sickening pop, spraying blood and teeth from her mouth. The blow knocks her on her back, and the legs leap into the air. They land with another heavy explosion and a new wave of gore, turning everything below 11's shins into pulp. Panic grips me and drags me forward. I don't want to be a hero. All I want to do is survive and make it back to Jack. But that doesn't mean I can't at least pull the woman to safety. I have to get to her. I have to... The ground shakes as the legs land again, making the ground shake and robbing me of my balance as 11 screams for help. My feet slide through 10's blood, and I land hard on the ground. My left eye throbs and sees nothing but red. I try to move, but my arms and legs are dead weight. The cement legs bend over 11's body. Her bottom half has been smashed into raw hamburger and shattered bones, but somehow she's still alive, whimpering at 12 and me for help. The stone waist opens, revealing a red mouth lined with sharpened stalagmites. The hideous maw clamps down over 11's torso, lifting her into the air with a loud rip. 11's eyes close as her body sags back and forth, the concrete surging upward, covering her chest. I can't look away from the grisly sight, not even as it grows farther away. Cocking my head, I see 12 standing above me. Both of his arms are draped around my shoulders. Sweat pours from his body as he inches me toward safety. My phone vibrates in my pocket again, and 12 swears before checking his screen. Another notification from the app? I try to get my phone, but my arms and legs still refuse to move.
Hey!
12 waves his arm and whistles at the thing that killed 10 and 11.
Over here!
What the hell is that moron doing? My head still swells from the fall, making my thoughts come slow. Forcing myself to stay away, I look at the thing and wonder what the kid sees that I don't. My phone vibrates again as it dawns on me. The concrete. There's a bare patch on the floor near where 10 was attacked. There's some missing near 11 as well. The room is making a body for itself, not just using flesh and blood, but the materials from the room as well. 12 didn't save my life. He's offering me up as bait for the damn thing. The realization speeds a current of warm rage through my body and a tingling sensation through my fingers. 12 turns to run as the creature rounds on us, but I throw my fist into his stomach. He goes down with a loud gust of breath from his chest and lands on top of me. 12 fights with a force that I wasn't expecting. His hands collide against my body, striking my neck and shoulders. But it's clear the kid's never been in a real fight before. Even with my bell rung, all it takes is 2 solid blows to leave him dazed and slumped against the door. I squirm away from him, using all the blood on the floor to slide away from the monster made of blood and stone. 12's frantic pleas ring loudly in my ears as the thing falls over him. I close my eyes tight and listen to the sound of stripped flesh and shattered wood. Forcing myself to my feet, I limp through the hole where the door was. 12 screams as the golem rips his arm from his socket and coats it with stone before jamming it into its new body. The journey outside is slow and painful, but thankfully direct. It's only a matter of putting one foot in front of the other. One foot is dragging with a limp, and the left side of my face is swollen and bloody. I guess 12 got in a few lucky punches. Abandoned stores are to the right and left of me. Each has been gutted and stripped clean, with nothing left on the shelves. Only a few scattered mannequin parts indicate what the shops might have been. The old mall is dark, but not difficult to navigate until I get to the escalators, which haven't been powered in years. I'm grunting and swearing by the time I get to the top of them, but the glass doors beyond them let in the purplish-orange light of a setting sun. After all I've been through, I'm expecting a team of government-type officials waiting to swoop me up into a dark van. But there's nobody. The doors aren't even locked. I barely push them as they slide open. Stepping into the abandoned parking lot, I glance at the sun setting in the distance and take a deep breath. The fresh air is clogged with the stink of blood from my clothes. My phone vibrates in my pocket. I think of the lives lost today, so carelessly tossed away. Not that I could blame those all entirely on the thing inside the mall. Didn't I kill 12? Did that make me any better than a murderer? I yank the phone from my pocket and reach it high over my head. A familiar chime holds me in place. It's another deposit into my bank account. $20,000. I stare at the 5 figures, all feeling floating away from my body. With the way the economy's heading and the foreman forgetting my number, I'll be lucky to make that in a year. $20,000 just for being the toughest guy in the room. Yes, people have died, but not anyone I knew. 10 was clearly some ex-con, and 12, well, that little bastard had tried to kill me. But what about 11? The app sends me another message before my thoughts can dwell on her for long. Congratulations on completing the imprint trial. Are you available for further experiments? Once again, the app has a mind of its own. It opens up and gives me 2 options. My thumb hovers over the 2 choices before finally choosing one. I stare at the horizon, taking in the sight of the sun as the phone heats in my hand. This tale was inspired by ongoing stories from the SCP experience, home to disturbing fantasies, shocking science fiction, and bizarre horror. For more weird tales like this one, check out the SCP Experience. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy these stories, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and check out some more of my episodes here.